He said, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
Was ever a dream? Darn them.
Hi, I'm Ubong Matthew, founder of An Hour with a Manager. This platform was created to solve a real challenge we saw across African professional spaces, which is the gap between ambition and structured leadership. Because a better manager will build a better Africa, and the world needs both.
Welcome to another episode of An Hour with a Manager, where we spotlight professionals, African professionals, to build the next generation of leaders. In this episode today, we'll be looking in depth into the public sector and discussing some challenges, some problems, and also how we can offer or proffer solutions to some of these challenges. And today's episode will be focused on e-governance and looking at some of these digital transformations which is going on in the public sector. And today we are moving away from Nigeria to extend our conversations to Kenya with one of our guests, Mumbwa, who would share much of these insights. And I'm sure at the end of this conversation, we'll be able to learn practical insights that will help impact our partnerships and negotiations with each government parastatals. Welcome, Mumbwa, to the show, and it's good to have you on An Hour with the Manager podcast.
Thank you very much, Ubong. I really appreciate. And hi from Kenya. I'm really humbled to be in this amazing show. I've watched a couple of your podcasts, and it's pretty amazing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we appreciate that. And so far, right? So for the benefit of those who are meeting you for the first time, right? For the benefit of our audience who are actually seeing Mumbwa today, what should they really tell about who you are, your background, and how far you've gone in the public sector, and some of those remarkable things you've been able to put in place so far till today?
Thank you very much. First of all, my name is Mumbwa from Kenya. I work at the Ministry of Defense here in Kenya as a civilian administrative officer. This means I have the privilege of working in such a complex environment, but it's really beautiful because I've had to learn a lot from my environment where I work, and it's always amazing to be able to also serve. I believe in public service a lot, especially the aspect of service to the citizens of the Republic of Kenya. Aside from that, I also sit as an executive advisor to the Public Service Youth Forum here in Kenya. It's a program that is spearheaded by the Kenya School of Government, and we've been able to organize amazing conferences, one being the Intergenerational Dialogue Conference, which happened in November last year. Yeah. It was amazing. We were able to attract over 600 plus young people for us to just sit down and have discussions on the various issues that they're facing in their workstations and how we're able to solve them. Because we want to move from the aspect of just complaining to the aspect of us sitting down together with our seniors and being able to co-create solutions together. So that's one of the things that I've been able to do. And also in my fields at the Ministry of Defense, I've also been able to be a civilian administrative officer at Embakasi Garrison, an amazing place. We've been able to collaborate with the military for tree planting activities and very many other types of collaborations. Aside from that, I've also worked as a head of personnel of complement, whereby I was dealing with the establishment, the ministry establishment, and the organizational structure. And this was basically me trying to balance out the staffing levels, recruitment, basically HR, because that was like the backbone of HR. So it's been pretty amazing being able to elaborate the aspect of teamwork with especially the team that I was working with, and also being able to make history, having my staff, like the newly employed staff, join in to the payroll within the first month of their selection process of their onboarding into the ministry. So this was a great achievement for us, for the HR. I couldn't have done it alone, of course. I thank my bosses for holding my hand through that, and the team that I worked with. So currently at the headquarters of Kenya Army, where I'm the civilian administrative officer, I was able to plan team building. I've only been there for less than a year, but I was able to plan a team building whereby we kind of learned a lot more about teamwork. Okay. And collaboration amongst ourselves.
Okay.
And yeah, aside from my very professional kind of work, I also sit as an executive advisor, just like I said. And I'm also an alumni of the Public Service Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program, which is an amazing program that teaches us more about the public service, especially in terms of how to maneuver. And I've also done a course also with Leap Africa. It's Young Women Leaders Africa, and it was also an amazing course. And aside from that, I've done my bachelor's in political science and public administration and sociology. It was a double major. And I've also done a master of public administration from the University of Birmingham. My bachelor's is from the University of Nairobi, one of the best universities in the country. So I'm really humbled that I've been able to learn a lot from a lot of people. And I'm a strong believer of mentorship, especially in public service. I usually say that I'm 100% a product of mentorship. It always feels nice when I always give this example. Say you're in a room and it's very dark, and then you're the only person holding the candle.
Okay.
That room is kind of still dark. But imagine you're in a room and each and every person in that room is holding a candle. Just imagine the kind of light that will come from that room.
How has this helped, all of this experience you've had, how has this helped shape your career personally? Just in a quick response, how has this helped shape your career to see through these changes that should really happen in the public sector? And also, you know, as a youth entrepreneur too, how is this also contributing to what you're doing and to the wider economy itself?
Yeah, this opportunity to move from the classwork, like from theory to the practical bits. And without the mentors and without consultations, I wouldn't have been here. I usually believe that leadership is not a one-man show. So I always believe in consulting people who've been there before me and learning from them. And this has actually shaped my career in public service, and it has also given me that visibility to be able to sit in rooms, to be able to be in spaces where decisions are made, spaces where policies are made, spaces where you're consulted despite you being a young person. So it has really shaped my career in the public service in a very good.
Thank you for sharing that. And just going into the conversation about e-governance, right? Because there's a lot of trend going on with the government trying to implement digital stuff into their systems. Like you find out some countries outside of Africa, right, who are already including what they call it AI, as far as going into including AI as one of their key stakeholders, right? So how is e-governance, right, shaping your region, shaping Kenya? How is it shaping East Africa?
Thank you very much, Bon, for that question. Before I even speak about e-governance, I would, as a public administration student, I would really like to highlight the two models of public administration that most governments are currently adopting. We have the traditional public administration, whereby it was all about bureaucratic processes. It was all about hierarchical structures. It was very rigid. There's flow of chain of command and all that. And we have the new public management, which is all about flexibility, innovation. The focus is on performance contracting. And there's that flexibility, I would say. So what's leaving the traditional model is the new public management is decentralized. So we're not like shifting from the traditional model. We're just kind of synergizing both the traditional way and the new public management. And that's where the e-governance comes into play. Because with e-governance, it's an aspect of innovation. Yeah, it's an aspect of technology, adopting technology. One of the ways it's shaping the aspect of public service or transforming public service is through the aspect of citizen centricity. Citizen centricity in the form that I don't have to go into a government office for me to be served. I don't have to make a queue for me to be served. Okay. It's very accessible. I can do everything from the touch of my phone.
Are you sure about that?
Yes. Government has digitized over 5,000 public services.
Wow.
Kenya. Over 5,000 government services, and they're still doing it as you proceed, because you understand it's usually a process. So that's why I'm saying it's very easy for me to log into any government service that I would want to access it. So that for me screams citizen centricity, in the sense that you want to make people feel included. Someone does not have to drive 800 kilometers away to come and access something in the capital city of Kenya, which is Nairobi. They can access from wherever they are. And I know you might be asking, What about the people who are not tech savvy?
Hmm.
We also have the aspect of the people who are not tech savvy, meaning we have centers that are localized from the e-citizen platform that are localized such that you're able to walk into any Huduma center. They're called Huduma Kenya. Oh, it means services. Huduma is services.
Okay.
So you're able to walk into any Huduma center and they will access the e-citizen for you. That is for people who, that's why I'm saying it's a balance of the online population who are able to access from the touch of their phones,
Yeah.
population who they have actually localized that aspect such that you're able to work it's even in villages. It's called Huduma Mashinani.
Hmm.
So it's actually a really beautiful thing. And I think Kenya is still also in the process of working towards that through the Kenya National Digital Master Plan of the framework of 2022 to 2032, which is to position Kenya as a digitally powered nation for economic sustainability and growth, and also for social inclusion. So you understand that you cannot talk about governance without the aspect of inclusion, the aspect of accessibility. So e-governance is citizen-centric. It kind of screams to me as citizen-centric because the issue of accessibility is there, the issue of inclusion is there. People are included both offline and online. Accessibility from your phone, you're able to do stuff from your phone. Another thing that I feel that needs to be talked about, it kind of minimizes corruption in the sense that I'm able to do everything from a system and track what it is. Let's say I want a certain service. I'm able to track how it's going. I'm able to understand each and every process that's going on with the service that I want. I'm not relying on a human being for me to get the information. We're not relying on middlemen such that someone will come and tell you, give me 5,000, let me do this for you. It's not that. It's all automated. It's in the system. So you're able to track yourself. So this kind of increases the aspect of also transparency and accountability in the sense that I'm not paying someone to myself online. And if I need to avail myself for fingerprints or anything of the sort, I have Huduma. I have Huduma Kenya Center, like a center near me because they are all over the country.
Okay, so I just briefly want to come in, right? You've talked about it being citizen centered, right? So I want you to also share with us from your own point of view as a citizen, aside from just working in the government parastatals, right? Is this really transforming life? And you've mentioned that it cuts away some of those corruption of middlemen, which is very, very important, right? Are we really seeing that put to effect? Because in Africa, we know that middlemen and the government space is always like 5 and 6, right? They always move hand in hand. So how do leaders, right, go about trying to implement these things because there's too much resistance? How are they able to make these things work while you as a citizen for these things to be effective for you?
Yeah, for leaders, I think the best way to go around this, and I would say it's from experience, um, the leaders, most of the leaders, or I would say the leader that we are moving towards the digital way, it's everyone who's doing it. It's not that some people are immune to it or anything of the sort. It's everyone who's actually doing it. And also the aspect of like change management, I would say they will call in for public participation from time to time, and they will also kind of make the citizens aware of why we are doing this and why we need to do this, because we realize that government loses a lot of money when systems are not digitized. Because imagine if the system is automated, when citizens are, because there's a mobile integration towards the system such that you can pay for any government service from the system, like any government service you want. So there's that mobile integration. So if you're paying directly, it's okay, because if something is 1,000 shillings, you'll pay 1,000 shillings. But if you're going through someone, that means you'll first bribe this person 5,000.
For a fast process.
They've not started the work. They've not started the work yet.
Yeah.
They've not started anything. So there's that aspect of the change management and the awareness just to explain to citizens that, in a day, uh, we are losing this amount of money if we don't digitize. But when we digitize, we're able to save this amount of money, which can be used to do something else. And yeah, that's one thing that leaders are doing: the change management, explaining the why, the how, the processes, the structures, and then holding public participation to kind of understand, like, is this, are you guys okay with us effecting this? Are you not okay? What do you think we should change? And this is something that we are being encouraged to do, especially in public service. Like, before, like, making any decision, it's very important for you to call in for a public participation, because most of the services or most of the decisions that you make affects the people of the Republic of Kenya, and you're making the decision on behalf of the
So I just want to quickly come into, I think last year when the Gen Zs, I was in Kenya when the Gen Zs were actually rioting and all of that, right? Based on the budget and stuff, right? So, touching point of what you said, what do leaders then do when they hit such resistance, when they're trying to make a change that might be effective to the citizens? Because yes, you're ruling thousands of people, millions of people, right? Which is not only the people itself, there are businesses which are also included in these things. Right. So when they meet this kind of resistance, what are some of these things that they do to avoid that? And also, just to add that up, right, is cybersecurity a big threat, right, in this digital adoption?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in this digital adoption, I think cybersecurity is something that affects every country, not only in Kenya. And I believe there are legal frameworks that govern the aspect of cybersecurity. Like in Kenya, we have the Data Protection Act, we have the Computer and Cybersecurity Crime Act, and we also have an office, actually. It's called the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, whereby they ensure that each and everyone, or each and every company, and each and every Kenyan is compliant and is in line with the Cybersecurity Act. And I think one of the things they've also been trying to do lately, they've also been trying to create awareness, because you realize some people do things not because of anything, but it's lack of knowledge about certain topics.
Yeah.
And just awareness on the rights, on individual rights, on what you can do, what you cannot do. And I also know it's something that they do auditing about, and compliance checks, just to make sure that each and every organization, and that they're really, really compliant with the Cybersecurity Act, Data Protection Act, and all that. Because realize that in government we get access to lots of data, especially from the people of the Republic, and it's important to have such. Yeah. So about the Gen Z, the easiest way, and I think the government is still trying to do it, is calling them to the table. That's why we had the intergenerational dialogue conference, for us to be able to have engage the youth in public service first.
Okay.
Because once you engage the youth in public service, you can use them as ambassadors out there to engage the youth in the greater population. So that was the easiest way, because like for me, I wouldn't go and maybe throw stones at my boss. It will be like
Yeah.
like it will be very professional, and I'll be able to articulate whatever it is that I have as an issue, diplomatically, and be like, these are the challenges that I face as a young person in public service. Uh, Succession management. These are the things that really, really stress me. This is what made me go to the streets as a public servant, as a young public servant. We'll be talking from a point of a very professional kind of view, and we use the youth in public service. After listening to the youth in public service, we use them as ambassadors of change out there. Like, now we can now go to and listen. Like, we can be ambassadors to go listen to the youth in the wider population, and it's something that we're actually working on, and we've actually been doing, because we've been engaging various youth groups, as the Public Service Youth Forum. We are doing a lot. We want to now start uh, talking to them, creating like live streams and all that, because we realize that one power that this generation has is the power of technology. They're very tech savvy. They will plan things
Anytime.
just on Twitter, protest on WhatsApp. So we just want to use the same technology to kind of have a dialogue with them. So I think it's very important and it's a strategy that the government is using to use the youth and public service to reach out to the youth out there. So yeah, it's still in the process. I'm not saying we're not yet there, yes, but it's baby steps, and at least there's progress. At least something is happening.
Okay,
So yeah, sitting on a table with them, and I'm trying to understand what they want.
Yeah, that's a welcome development, and thank you for sharing that and going in depth to that, because I know back then the whole riot and everything, I knew the government would probably meet some resistance trying to fit into the whole citizens, just like in Nigeria itself. You can't actually satisfy every citizen, but you can put things in place, right, to support what they're actually doing. And most importantly, transparency, just like you've mentioned, is actually plays an important role in ensuring this thing works, right? So I just want us to tilt into the public sector, right? The private sectors, right? Because I know at the end of the day, in as much as the government are putting out things, they're also concerned about the businesses in those states, in those countries, in those regions. Even if I'm a foreigner coming from any outside of Africa or within Africa, right? I also want to, get involved, get engaged with a successful business or be able to run successfully in that region, right? So, are there any successful public-private partnerships, right, that has been in place that I think is actually something of importance based on the journey, based on what they're doing so far or what they plan to do so far?
Yeah, they are, and according to our constitution, the constitution allows 100% for public-private partnerships, and that's one of the that's why I started with explaining the aspect of new public management, because we are moving from the rigid structures to now innovation, allowing partnerships, working with the private sector, because you realize the private sector usually has a lot of say, and they usually have a lot of influence in some of these services. So
okay,
yeah, we have various public PPPs, I will say, that are very successful. One of them I actually mentioned being Safaricom. Safaricom is worked with is working with government to kind of integrate the mobile services, payment services into the government services. Like, say, for example, you want to access something from eCitizen, you're able to pay using M-Pesa.
yeah,
We also have banks, services you can pay using bank, using your bank. And then we also have the other aspect of also one of the public services I would say it's transport. Yeah, the Kenyan government has really been working with the Chinese government, and yeah, that's how we have the Nairobi Expressway. It's a really really nice development, especially in tapping congestion in the city, because it's just express. As the name says, it's express, and this is a partnership between the Kenyan government and the Chinese government. So I believe that any government right now that's not into partnerships, especially the private sector or intergovernmental
yeah,
partnerships, I think that's like locking yourself in a cocoon that you do not want development, because you can imagine the amount of resources that come into play, the amount of innovations that could come by if the public sector partners with the private sector. Because I believe the public sector right now is just like I said, it's not a one-man show. It's something
yeah,
that we will need lots and lots of stakeholders, lots of partners, because these are decisions that affect the people of the Republic of Kenya. So it's something that needs to be done, and it's something that the government is doing. And you actually realize that most of the ministries, MDAs, they're working with organizations like the UN, private organizations,
yeah.
CDOs. Like the government has an initiative of planting, because the government cannot do it alone. We need environmentalists, we need community-based organizations, we need civil society. So all these are partnerships, and it's very important for the government to keep up with the partnership.
All right. So, you made mention of some of the partnerships going on with Chinese companies, which I know actually have lots of constructions going on there. How do you see it? How do you see it progressively in 5 to 10 years time, based on the transformations they're putting place in Nairobi?
Yeah, I believe it will be a successful one. I yeah, I wouldn't have much to say about that, but it will be a successful one because if they've already started now, that means they'll start with a certain sector, maybe transport sector, and then get into maybe agriculture. So I know and I trust that the government is really open to this kind of partnerships. And then yeah, probably even have even when we're talking about the aspect of e-governance, they can probably even the government I know is thinking of integrating all these systems into one huge system. Because, like I told you, the e-citizen has for over 5,000 government services, have human resource systems.
Yeah.
So maybe they can fully integrate this into one huge system, something like an e-government whereby all these systems are fully integrated. And also, I think one of the issues that can really be looked into is the aspect of infrastructural development in the sense that there's need to be electricity everywhere, there's need to be internet access everywhere, there's also needs. I think this would also call for a partnership where people are able to have access to smartphones. I would say.
Yeah.
I really really long for a Kenya whereby um, people are able to access all these services from the comfort of their homes. People are very literate on matters AI, on matters digital technologies, and it
Yeah.
will be a really, really good thing. And in terms of infrastructure, one of the things I know the government is doing is we have something called digital superhighway, and it will be important for them to also expand this, make an expansion from the urban areas to also the rural areas, whereby all these people can be able to benefit. I think the best way would be to, first of all, you cannot solve a problem without first of all engaging these people on how this problem affects them. Yeah. So I think that will be on a bid to ensure that there's accessibility and there's digital infrastructure within the rural areas. And one of the ways would be to even partner with companies or partner with investors who are able to. I believe Kenya is a well-known country, and I feel like partnering with a country like Kenya is very easy, and partner with various companies and be like, you know what, there's this rural area, there's this problem they're facing. So we're calling in for investors for us to be able to support this innovation, or we're calling in the private sector, of course, for us to be able to come up with a solution or co-create a solution whereby we are able to make sure that the rural um, areas are involved. And another thing would also be to, of course, train capacity build on digital skills. You might not give someone a mobile phone, but
Yeah.
you can create a center or a digital hub whereby they're able to go to that hub and do whatever it is they would want to do, as long as it's something that will help them, or it's something that ensures that they have access to the government services. So having these digital hubs or localizing them such that I may not be given a mobile phone, but I know there's a place. Me living in one of the remote areas, and I know there's a place whereby if I need to apply for something or if I need to have access to a government service online, I know I
Yeah.
can go there. I think that's one of the ways of kind of including the very remote areas, and also encouraging innovation. Have like a hackathon or something of the sort whereby young people are able to create their own solutions, because it's something that I always say. I just feel like the problems that people face, especially in the rural areas, are problems that they themselves have solutions to. It's just that they're not given a chance to
Yeah.
be able to articulate, or they don't have the capital or the funds to be able to bring solutions to their communities. I just feel like they usually have solutions even at the back of their minds. So you'll hear them making statements like, "If the government does this for us, we will be able to do this. If the government does this for us, we will."
But that's how it should be. That's how it should be, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So encouraging innovation even from the the most remote areas, I just feel like would be a good thing. And even connecting them to investors. Let investors come. Let innovators or founders, I would say, come to the room and say, there's this problem that I have identified. And this I speak mostly towards the young people, because I'm very passionate about matters youth empowerment. I let the young people come and say, you know what, there's this problem my community is facing, and I have this solution. The only thing that I don't have funds to be able to take my innovation out there. And let people be like, you know what, as this and this organization, I'll fund that. As this and this organization, I'll fund that. And having those digital hubs whereby they're kind of making technology accessible even to those remote areas. And of course, we can't have the digital hubs if we don't have the expansion of the digital infrastructure. Of course, we need to first expand areas with electricity, areas with internet access, and all that. And I would say that that's one of the things that is to ensure that they focus on. There's like 4 pillars. There's digital skills, there's digital infrastructure, there's digital innovation, and there's digital services. Already you can see the digital services from eCitizen. With digital infrastructure is ensuring access. Digital skills is basically capacity building. If I don't understand it myself. So capacity building first, the people in the public service, and then also ensuring that there's this capacity building even to the Republic of the Republic of Kenya, such that they know when I walk to this and this office.
All right. So, lastly, how do you see this digital transformation, right, taking place in the next 5 years, 10 years? Are we going to have AI also in the parastatals, probably in the Ministry of Defense? Are we going to have them as one of the ministers, or probably come take your job or something? How do you see this transformation happening in 5, 10 years or thereabouts?
Thank you very much, Bong. And there's one thing I always say about AI. AI is not here to take our job. AI is only here to complement us, to assist. It's like an assistive technology. That's what I would say. And in the next 5 years, I know all the government services will be digitized. Will be within a system. And just like I was saying, we have very many government systems. We have the financial management information system. We have the e-procurement system. We have the HR systems. In the next 5 years, of course, I know that all these systems will be in one. You see, like the way we have a citizen, whereby you're able to have access to all the ministries and what they do. And I really, really love that aspect of e-governance, because as a citizen, if I go to the e-citizen portal, I'm able to know what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs does. And you realize some people will even, you get to kind of make awareness even amongst the citizens by the virtue of the fact that they're interacting with the portal, with the e-citizen portal. Someone would even make comments like, I've never known that this ministry exists. And you're like, yeah, it's very important, because it's also a way kind of creating awareness out there that these are the ministries that we have. These are the government services that are being offered. So just I was saying, AI is not here to take away our jobs. AI is just an assistive tool. And I think one of the ways that I know, of course, most governments are working towards is the aspect of AI in public service delivery, such that even at the middle of the night, I don't need to talk to an actual person. I can talk to a chatbot. I'm sure you've seen that, because it's also here. It's also here in Kenya, whereby you don't have to talk to an actual person. The system has already been trained on a way to answer certain questions, and if there's need for being taken ahead to someone who's a bit more senior, or someone who's human, they do that easily. And I also see a Kenya where there's digital infrastructural expansion, whereby areas that have easy access to electricity, they have easy access to internet, and also see AI being used in public service delivery. I also see new innovations in public service, whereby if I believe if innovation is well encouraged and well supported, there's a lot that innovation and AI and emerging technologies going to do in terms of ensuring that the public service or the services offered by the government are really, really effective and efficient. And yeah, of course, accessible. So yeah, that's where I see AI and e-governance 5 years from now.
And
And of course,
lastly, what did you
sorry.
say? Please go ahead.
And of course, digital skills, because of course, just as I was saying, you cannot train, you cannot already. Okay, me being a public service officer, I'm not able to use a system, the citizen of Kenya, if I'm not able to understand the system myself, because I
Okay.
need to fully understand it. So the aspect of digital skills training is also very important to the people of Kenya and to also the public service officers who are with the various MDs. So that's also very, very important in terms of that, yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. And actually, I'm looking forward to seeing some of these transformations or some of these innovations probably in my next visit, right? And let's see how other governments, other regions, other locations can also adapt to this. But lastly, right, I just want to get back to your introduction, talking about you working in the Ministry of Defense, right? So we don't get people thinking probably you're going to be serving in the war sometime or soon, right? How do you see your work at the Ministry of Defense, right? How do you see your own part of the work personally impact what you're doing, and also personally for your own sustainability and long term? Do you see yourself working there for a long time, or do you see collaborating with the Ministry of Defense to actually put up something very magnificent for the ministry?
Yeah, first of all, I would want to make this clear. I don't go to war. I am a civilian personnel at the Ministry of Defense. Defense civilian staff, meaning I'm not military, I don't go to war, and I play a supportive role towards the main mandate of the ministry. And how I see it is just like any other ministry, the Ministry of Defense is very big on adoption of emerging technologies, and it's something that we've seen. You see them adopting the aspect of AI. It's a security ministry, so I'm not really allowed to talk much about that. But I would say that it's very transformative in a way that some services that could even take 1 month are now taking even a week or two, depending on the various departments that you have within the ministry. And this is something that's also very beautiful because you also see that the use of social media by the Ministry of Defense to also kind of um, ensure transparency in the sense of just showing the people out there what it is the ministry is doing and how they're doing it. Just general things like if there's an event that's happening, you'll see it on social media. If there's some adverts that have been done, or if there's an opening, you also see it on social media and on the various pages. So I will say this also is one of the things that has really impacted even my career, my personal life. I would say personal life in the sense that I've learned a lot in terms of working with military. Each and every time people think of military, they think of discipline. Yeah, I've learned a lot in terms of that, personal discipline, my personal life, personal branding. There's just a way, as much as there's a way, there's a dress code in the public service. I just feel like in the military it's a bit more strict. There's a way you should dress. There's a way you should communicate with people.
Yeah.
There's just a way. It's very respectful, and I usually say I'm kind of militarized. I'm a militarized civilian because interacting with them and you see just how they interact
Yeah.
amongst themselves or amongst seniors, and you kind of carry that everywhere you go. It becomes a part of you that even when you're not at work and you're even playing advisory roles at the Public Service Youth Forum, and you realize that there's a way you speak, that there's a way you talk, there's a way you articulate your points, and there's a way you just walk. And even my friends make fun of this. They usually like you're walking like a military person now, and I just tell them I'm just used to this this way of working things around me. That it's beautiful because it kind of shapes the actual you, like who you are. And it's amazing also because Ministry of Defense has also been able to give me lots of opportunities that I'm really, really grateful for. They've been very supportive. It's a really, really nice place. It's very complex because it will take you time to understand what it is that they do and what's needed and required of you. But it's a place that if you are a smart person, you're able to learn a lot from them. You're able to get opportunities. They're able to mention you in places. You're able to sit in tables that you never thought you would sit in. And it's a beautiful thing, especially being a young person. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you very much, Mumbwa, for sharing much of that insight, and we'll probably get to have much of these conversations in the coming year. But we really appreciate all the insights you've shared, and just giving us access to also work with you today, to understand the journey and everything going on in Kenya, and as well as the ministry itself and some of these innovations, which will really impact the citizens and as well as the business owners who are in those regions. And as much as possible, we also look forward to seeing much of your impact in the region and as well as the greater Africa itself. And thank you very much for always showing up for an hour with the manager at any point in time.
Thank you very much, Wong. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing job that you're doing. And I'm a big fan. I'm currently a big fan of your show. There's a lot that I've learned, even from the previous podcast. And yeah, keep showing up. It's important. And it's one thing that I always tell every young person out there. Just show up sad, show up happy, show up broken, show up crawling, as long as you just show up.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep to that. All right. Thank you guys for tuning into another episode of An Hour with the Manager. We hope that this conversation took impact, in your own life personally, to also help you shape and understand what is going on in the public sector, most importantly in the region itself of Kenya. And we are sure that as much as possible, we'll all put these conversations into practice and see how to build a community or an inclusive governance for the wider population. Until next time, I am your host, Ubong Matthew. See you guys. Bye.
Going back in the bed, jumping on the stage. You know, average is a gamble.